to the second edition of the world's largest virtual FinTech Fest, Global FinTech Fest. My name is Kyati Kawa and I will be your host for this session. India is rapidly emerging as the world's top FinTech hub, with the sector clocking the highest VC funding in the last 1 year in the APEC region. The current year has seen over 16 unicorns in India, where 1 in 4 unicorns were from the FinTech domain. The country with over 800 million smartphone and internet users is the most evolved society for fintech adoption in the world today. The key aim of the Global FinTech Fest is to sustain India's leadership in digital payments and financial technologies and to explore the possibilities of globalization of Indian fintech infrastructure and services. We welcome you all for the keynote address and launch of the UN Principles for Responsible Digital Payments. And we are privileged to have Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Government of India, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, as our chief guest today. We are also glad to have Shri G. Padmanabhan, former Executive Director, Reserve Bank of India, and former Non-Executive Chairman, Bank of India, who will be moderating today's session. I would take the opportunity to welcome both of you and request Padmanabhan ji to take the session forward.
Good afternoon, Honorable Madam Finance Minister. It's my delight and privilege to be sharing the virtual platform of this most awaited session of the day, the inaugural day of the second Global FinTech Festival, jointly organized by NPCI, FinTech Convergence Council, Internet and Mobile Association of India, Payment Council of India, and supported by MeitY, NITI Aayog, and the Reserve Bank of India. This event, as was just stated, is India's initiative to fulfill the country's aspiration to achieve global thought leadership and become the most preferred destination for the world fintech industry. Madam, your presence has made a huge difference to this year's event, and thank you very much for agreeing to speak at the event, and I extend a very warm welcome to you. In India too, the biggest impact of technology is felt, as in the rest of the world, in the financial sector. Like the technology transformed the financial sector, we are all aware that the Indian financial sector under your astute stewardship has seen a massive transformation and now has a solid foundation to regain vibrancy and rapid growth. You took the reins at the most difficult time, and today we have come a full circle, notwithstanding the debilitating impact of the COVID pandemic. Recognition, recapitalization, reorganization of the sector have all happened, and with the setting up of a national ARC, or a bad bang as some may like to call, you have provided all the initiative for the banking sector to boom and prosper. The structured model of infrastructure financing has also been put in place. We all admired and watched in awe as you went ahead undaunted in your firm and completely thought through commitment to reforming the sector. Nothing deterred the government once the path was decided, COVID or no COVID. That's not all. The financial inclusion that we achieved in the last 5-6 years and the UPI becoming the toast of the world are no mean achievements. Madam, these achievements make me recall, and permit me to say the stanza 632 of Tirukkural to describe our finance minister. Vankan Kudikadal Kattariel Alvinayodu Aindudan Mandadu Amach. The earlier Kural says that the minister, any minister can make a choice of means, time, manner of execution, etc. But one who is effective is the one who acts with courage, protects the citizens, learns from literature, knows what to do, and undertakes persistent efforts and is also firm. As the former chairman of Bank of India and the former executive director of Reserve Bank of India, and of course, as an advisory board member of the GFF, Madam, may I use this opportunity to thank you and congratulate you and now invite you to address the delegates. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Shri Padmanabhan. I'm very glad to participate in this Global FinTech Fest. And it's very heartwarming to know that even in 2015, Government of India had joined this, the Better Than Cash Alliance. And that was done by my eminent predecessor, late Shri Arun Jaitley. At that time, he had a vision to share about India and the very big financial inclusion mission that the Prime Minister had started in the name of Jan Dhan Yojana, which was to bring in every family into the financial network. And surprising as it may sound, however, it was true that there were several families running in lakhs actually, their numbers, were still not covered under any kind of financial inclusion. They did not even have an account in a bank. And whilst attempts were made earlier, that's not to deny their attempts, but several governments earlier had attempted to get every Indian household to have a bank entry somewhere. It was only after 2014 that speed and the scale of this exercise saw near saturation, in the sense almost all families in India were brought in, those left out for very many reasons earlier, justifiable reasons maybe, but were all brought in post 2014. And how was that made possible? Because even as it was launched, even as banks were told that they have to reach out to every household, technology was brought in. The temptation of speeding up through technology, temptation of making everyone use the benefit of technology and giving them the comfort that it was on their phones that they could operate, actually was the biggest aim at that time. So the Jan Dhan Yojana, accompanied by the Aadhaar card, which was a unique biometric identity card, and the mobile phone through which every individual, irrespective of where he was located, could be brought in, was an ambitious scheme, but it was launched with such fervor, with such dedication, that when in 2015, my predecessor, while joining the Better Than Cash Alliance, he had these things to claim that India was moving fast and was going to achieve a certain kind of financial inclusion which is being enabled by technology. Now today, the India stack, which actually really has brought into reality the cashless, the paperless, and what we call faceless but presence-less. All three are being achieved today and with great people's participation. It's not as if the government has launched it, the government is pushing it. The adaptation, meaning people adopting these, has become so obvious in the face for the entire world to see. Whether the corona was a trigger or not, it's the truth that because of the way in which this entire mission had carried itself out between 2015 and today, the India stack actually has played out in so many different unexpected but pleasantly unexpected ways. It enabled, of course, for the government to be able to put into the accounts directly of people who were in far-flung areas that little money which came off as big relief, even during the lockdown. It's indeed true that Indian banks have 1.5 lakh bank mitras, and they were there to move into far-flung villages representing the bank branch from where they pan out. But even with all that, it was the direct benefit transfer which was enabled through the technology, through the payment systems, which made us be confident that the relief which was being sent to the people were sent in a matter of an hour latest and not beyond that. So it went into their accounts within a few minutes. But that money, in case they were not able to physically access it, the bank mitra would then go reach it out. And therefore, I'm saying a few hours, but the technology delivered it in a matter of minutes. So this comfort of serving the people, because the payment systems have become so, if I may use the word, mature, even very well layered, it adapted itself to so many different functions that the government wanted to undertake. And therefore, today, you see that fintech is proving itself in the ground in India. As a result, technology is not remaining somewhere, it is actually remaining in the hands of the people for them to execute it and for governments to also oversee it. Now, today, we are not just talking about commercial banks, we're talking about various different banks which have come into financial operations, whether they are small finance companies, whether they are microfinance institutions, whether they are payment banks. All of them are playing a role only because the strength given to them is not just that currency or the cash with which they reach out, but the technology which actually facilitates the entire operation. So the entire process of India's stack is maturing on the strength of Indian users, whether they are government, whether they are in the public. And I'm so happy to say that just a few decades ago, India was, which was looked at as, densely populated with partly literate, semi-literate people, today leads its way in technology using, the flair with which people are using technology. So it wasn't literacy, numeracy, or knowledge. It was more adapting with a mindset of being ready for taking technology on board. And this, therefore, has helped during the pandemic. Today, small merchants, big merchants, all of them have equally adopted it. So technology is not now somewhere out of some section's reach. Every section of Indian population, be they householders, be they industry, be they smaller, medium manufacturers, all of them are benefiting by it. The very fact that it is being adapted so much, fintech startups today are fine-tuning this whole business and updating this with futuristic technologies, and therefore India is a fintech hub. You couldn't have had this kind of a combination of user ready to happily adapt, the technology innovator ready to keep adapting and also innovating newly, and a government which is pushing, saying, yes, please go ahead, use digitized ways of paying. As a result, you've got that fine combination of all the three. And I understand today the UN principles for responsible digital payments, therefore, is something which is coming in at the right time. At the right time, especially when very many countries are racing with one another to reach their maximum population with technology. There are also, of course, ever so many players in the ground, all of them, I would think, well-intended, but of course it will help us to understand best practice-based governing principles, which is what is coming out today. I suppose the UN principles, I understand it is, it's got about 9 principles, all of which are built on trust, transparency, and making sure it is inclusive. So without putting across all the 9, I understand the emphasis is on including women, which is right, because most often when technology related matters come, there is also a hesitancy from the side of women. There's also this eager to move fast even if women are left behind, both of which are not ideal. We need all of the women to participate in it. Today, economy depends on women's active participation. And also, above all, I think one of the 9 points is also to ensure that there is privacy. Data privacy is one of the things which is very important, and it is an issue on which there can be a lot of contentious views. However, basic respect for privacy is something which, as a guiding principle, is well appreciated and taken up. Safeguards of client data is something which I really would think is the backbone to bringing trust. Unless my data is safeguarded well, I wouldn't want to get into a scheme of things. So that is one of the guiding principles. And it's also interesting that you've given the guiding principles which are very applicable for the governments, because governments are steering this ahead. It's also got a section which is the guiding principle for the user and guiding principle for the industry and businesses. So I'm very impressed that today the UN principles for responsible digital payments is being launched. It is, as I said, just the need of the hour. We need all governments and all of us to understand that in our desire to bring in an interoperable system, a system which has to be pushed ahead because of the transparency virtues that it carries, we shouldn't be in a hurry to compromise on any one of these features. So with those words, I think India government and the interest with which Prime Minister is committed in pushing digital payments is actually showing results. If I can just share a data point with all the audience, whereas in 2019, we had about 2 lakh crore payments digital. It got ramped up in 20 to about 4 lakh crore payments, but in the calendar year 2021, beginning January 2021 till end of August 2021, just 8 full months, we've had 6 lakh crore worth of transactions. 6 lakh crores worth of transactions, and that accounts to 355 crore transactions as individual transactions, irrespective of the value of the transaction. So the number of transactions is 355 crores, and the amount, as I said, or the value, as I said, is 6 lakh crore worth just in the 8 months in the calendar year beginning January 2021. So India, both from the user and from the government, there's just an energetic participation. Government giving the push, people wanting to adapt to it, and there's just a joyful way in which things are moving, although in 2020, I will say it was pushed more because of necessity. The need for pandemic time response so that we reach maximum people. Small businesses keep doing their activity. They had no business to go out to the bank and come back. They were all pushing for, somehow my business should go on. So the QR codes became very popular even in our villages. So I'm being told that in India, the fintech adoption rate is 87%. 87% in India, whereas the global average is only 64%. So I would think India is just the prime destination for digital activities, digital payments. No wonder UPI today comes out as one of the very big brand images for India. And we are very happy to support it, strengthen it, and further it. So thank you very much for having me here. I wish your entire day's program a great success, and also the Global FinTech Fest, as you said at the introduction, should happen in a physical form, and Government of India will be very happy to associate with you all for the next year when you do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam, for your insightful observation. In fact, I could add that message going on in the social media says that India has now even outstripped China in terms of digital transactions. So it's a moment of great joy for us. May I now request Dr. Ruth Goodwin-Groen Managing Director from United Nations Better Than Cash Alliance, and also Ms. Keyzom Massally, Head of Asia Pacific at United Nations Better Than Cash Alliance, to join us on the platform. Thank you very much. United Nations Better Than Cash Alliance is a partnership of 77 plus governments, companies, and international organizations that accelerates the transition from cash to responsible digital payments to help attain sustainable development goals, has come up with a report, UN Principles for Responsible Digital Payments, Building Trust, Mitigating Risks, and Driving Inclusive Economies. May I now request the Honorable Madam Finance Minister to release the report. Thank you very much, Madam. Kaite, over to you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Government of India, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman. Thank you, ma'am, for gracing this event with your presence and address. Thank you, Shri Padmanabhan ji, Dr. Ruth Goodwin, and Keyzom. Thank you all for joining in for other sessions. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, everybody.
Now, this report will be available, now can be downloaded by clicking on the report icon in the lobby section of this platform. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Padmanabhan ji. Thank you once again, Ruth and Keyzom. Thank you, everybody.